UConn Huskies back at Gamble Pavilion for the first time in over a month, getting set to face off against the Tulsa Golden Hurricane. All the action coming your way right here, top of the hour on SNY. As we welcome you, the UConn women's basketball pregame show. I'm Gary Apple alongside Carol Walters on this Sunday morning. So good to have you with us. UConn beginning the day 15-1, 6-0 in the American Conference. But Kara, the head coach, Gino Auriemma, he was a bit feisty at practice yesterday, saying, and I'm quoting him right here, "My kids are sick of answering questions about why we're not what we used to be. Sick of answering those questions. Since when do you have to apologize for winning? Why? Because we've won so much that even winning is not enough. I'll be honest with you, that's blankety blank. It really is. For the last 25 years, year after year, we've become death taxes, and UConn becoming #1 in the country and undefeated and rolling through everybody and being up 40 at halftime. And the parade is what day? Then all of a sudden you realize this blank ain't as easy as we make it look." Close quote. So Gino was fired up. What do you make of all this?
He's a straight shooter, right?
Yes, he is, which we like about him.
He's a great soundbite. You know what? He's not wrong. And you know what I like about that? He's like a Papa Bear. He's very loyal. He's very loyal to his girls and to his team. And he's not wrong to some extent. I mean, we have been spoiled in the state of Connecticut that's what you do. You just win. And I think what frustrates him also is people said, well, we don't watch anymore because they blow people out by 50. And then they were like, oh, you're not winning anymore, so the games aren't sold out, right? So he gets frustrated at the reaction. But what they're doing, for as much as we nitpick, because that's what we do in the media, for as much as we nitpick, he is absolutely right. They're 15-1 people.
Right.
However, we have to nitpick because they are 15-1. They can get away with it against certain teams, right? Get away with the things that people are asking about. Why is the offense bad? Why is this? But against a Baylor, that's not going to cut it. So that's why people are asking, what's the problem? They mean, what's the problem against teams like Baylor, not like, hey, you're killing everyone in the conference. Right?
So how much of this do you believe is him just trying to take some pressure off his players back? The well-calculated, sure, his dander was up, but how much of that do you think is calculated?
That's a great point, Gary. Like, I think it is to take, nobody puts more pressure on this team than them. I do have to tell you, talking to some of the players, you know what they said to me? That they said there have been nights they've cried themselves to sleep because they feel like they're not upholding the standard of UConn basketball. And they don't want to ruin everything that was built, the dynasty before them, and not look good. That to me is like, oh, guys, come on. There's no crying in basketball. Let's go. Like, we have faith in you. We love you. As a former alumni, I don't think any differently of you. Right. You're trying so hard. You just don't happen to have, you know, Katie Lou Samuelson this year, Nafisa Collier.
But
they put that on themselves. Yeah. And Gino's trying to take that pressure off of them. Yep. And it's not necessarily the pressure from other people. They've been the underdog this season, you know. There's something to be said for that, too. But nobody puts more pressure on them than they do. And they just want to live up to the standard of UConn basketball and the dynasty that has been built. And I have to say, ladies, I know you don't watch this, but absolutely we're proud of you, and you have held up that standard.
I was going to say, isn't as an alum, as somebody who won a national championship at UConn, don't you like the fact that they feel that sense of responsibility?
Yes, actually, there's something to be said for that as well, Gary. That is great. When they come into UConn, Chris Daly shows them the history of UConn. She literally has a quiz on the history of UConn. They make them read about it, all sorts of things, because that's how important the history is. They have paved the way. So it is nice to see that they have the respect of the former players to want to win games and kind of keep that standard of UConn basketball. But at the same time, don't put too much pressure on you. Go out there and play, because you know what? You're at UConn because you are UConn basketball. You do things different. You represent the school really well. You look a certain way, attention to detail. So the wins and losses, nobody would think different of you. But Crystal Dangerfield doesn't want to leave UConn without it.
I would agree with you on that. And again, they're 15-1. They're unbeaten in the conference, but they only won by 9 points. Only won by 9 points on Thursday. It's just the second time in all of their years in the American, 7 years, they've won a game in the single digits. Yeah. So what's going on there? And is there something to be taken out of winning these ugly games?
I think it's definitely a positive because you can take so much. To them, again, being hard on themselves, those games are like a loss to them. They've lost. They haven't reached every game. They put on the board what their goals are, and if they don't reach their goals, we want a certain amount of rebounds, we want a certain amount of this. So that's like a loss. So they go back to the drawing board, right? They go back, they look at game film. Gino can look at the film and say, see, I told you you weren't doing this. You didn't listen. Let's go to the tape, right? Tape doesn't lie. So there's something to be said for losing these games. And like we said before, in the past, they haven't lost. They got into the Final Four and been like, oh, we haven't been in this situation before. How do we handle adversity? Now they're used to handling adversity. So something to be said for that, right? Maybe it's a good thing that they're losing now and not in the future.
So UConn comes in averaging in the upper 70 points per game on the season, but over the course of the last two games, only 63.5 points was the average in the two wins, Memphis and Central Florida. So when you look at the offense, what's behind those numbers?
Honestly, Garrett, I think teams, A, are being physical with them, and B, they're playing more zone, right? You're seeing kind of like a matchup zone. And what's happening in that a little, because their cutting's not good, they're not cutting to the open spots, to the free throw lines. We saw in that Central Florida game, they played a zone, right? You need to cut to that foul line to break up the zone. You have to move a zone, right? You have to boom, 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 not make a pass, dribble once, make a pass. So I feel like that zone is a little bit part of the problem, but you know, there's other factors involved. They're tentative shooting, right? Anna Makarat has said she is tentative shooting the ball. So there's several factors that go along into their offense. But, you know, there's a lot of things going on there, but they have to kind of, this team still hasn't found their identity. Usually by this point in the season, right, a team has found their identity. But honestly, if they find their identity by March, that's good.
Yeah, listen, we continue to say they've got a decent shot to win the national championship again this year. And Gino has said, you know, despite the fact that many of them have been here before and are upperclassmen, they have not been in the positions that they are on the floor. So they're still learning their roles this year. Let's get a check right now. The schedule makers, they have not done UConn many favors in the month of January. The Huskies hit the hardwood this afternoon for the 5th time in the last 10 days. And Gino acknowledged the difficulty of that stretch after the victory on Thursday night.
It's been a lot, and there just isn't enough time to really, when something starts to, you know, go awry, you just don't have enough because you got game after game after game after game. So, yeah, these next 3 weeks would be a really good time for us to, you know, get our stuff back, you know, get our mojo back a little bit. Right now, it's, you know, when we go back, we got a day off, one day to prepare, and then a game. So after Sunday, then I think we'll have a pretty good couple weeks to get some work done.
So with that as the backdrop, we welcome in Maria Marino. She joins us from Gampel Pavilion. And Maria, you heard what Gino had to say right there about the difficulty of this stretch. What about the coaching staff? How do they plan on utilizing the schedule here over the next few weeks?
Well, without so much time dedicated to traveling, it really affords the ability to dissect that game film and get after it in practice. To me, the biggest thing that this team needs to work on is executing their offense properly and with confidence. So that means not as much timidness, more decisiveness, knowing when to shoot, knowing when to pass, and specifically for the underclassmen, so Aubrey Griffin, Anna Makarat, and Olivia Nelson-Ododa, recognizing when they have open shots to take them and not dribble or do that extra pass. All of those things are going into what they need to fine-tune. Of course, you can't simulate all of this in practice, so I suppose it's a good thing that they have so many games coming up in the next couple of weeks where they can really work on everything.
All right, Maria, thank you. See you coming up on the broadcast just a little bit. We're just getting going here on the UConn women's basketball pregame show. When we come back, Crystal Dangerfield once again has been a huge part, a leader on this team, a quiet leader in so many ways. What makes her tick and how does she run this team? We're back in just a moment.
Dangerfield works to Nelson-Ododa, screen, and a soft touch. Dangerfield wide open. Got it. Look at the run out from Crystal Dangerfield. 5 seconds. Dangerfield with the step back off the glass. From the corner, Dangerfield.
Huge three by the senior.
Crystal Dangerfield, she continues to excel in her senior season. The numbers presented by Town Fair Tire. She leads the team in assists and steals. She ranks 3rd in points per game. And we know that Crystal is not exactly the most vocal player out there on the floor. But despite that, this in many ways has become her team to lead. How do you assess the way she's handling that?
I think she's come out of herself. We've talked about how she's not vocal. She's more vocal this year than I've ever seen her. She's playing outside of herself. She knows this is it. The clock is ticking. Her last season, she doesn't want to leave without a national championship. And she needs to guide these younger players. She knows nobody's been in the role they've been in, all right? They've never played their roles before, so Crystal's really trying that leadership, that's things other than basketball, just carrying the basketball, the confidence she's giving off the court. She's been a leader in the locker room, kind of pulling the team together and having those meetings. So I give her a lot of credit because she's not that kind of, that's just not her personality, right? To be this vocal leader. And she's done a great job. She feels the urgency. She's talking to her players. She's helping. Some of the younger kids aren't getting it yet as far as where they're supposed to be on offense. And you can see her. She's an extension of the coach, and she takes her job seriously. And she's really upped her game with those other parts of it.
She has. And listen, this is somebody who, again, is playing in a different role than she's been used to in the past. She would defer to Katie Lou or to Nafisa. They're not there anymore, and now she puts it on the deck. She creates for herself. When you look at her as an offensive player, how do you look at her as somebody who can put the cape on, as you like to say, and get a bucket when they need a bucket?
Well, and that's the thing that's changed for her as well. So not only the talking and the helping the team, but Gino's given her the green light and said, I know you've been a facilitator in the past, but now we're looking for you to score. So you see a confidence that's built in her that she knows she needs to have those big shots. She needs to be there. There's no more looking around to see who else is going to do it. She needs to do it. So she's scoring more than we've ever seen. I like the mid-range jumper. She's kind of getting inside there, shooting that mid-range jumper. The thing I also like, she's taking care of the basketball. She's also sharing the basketball well, even though she's scoring.
Let's head for break right here, and as we do, we're going to take a look at Crystal Dangerfield warming up for today's game against Tulsa. So where is UConn vulnerable at the moment? Alan and Meg going to join us from courtside at Gamble Pavilion with some answers when we come right back. We're back on the UConn women's basketball pregame show as we get a look at the UConn women's leading scorer, Megan Walker. Her final preps for today's game against Tulsa. Gamble Pavilion also in stores are Alan Beswick and Meg Como. They've got the call for us today, and they join us right now. Guys.
All right, Gary, thanks. So, Megan, a couple of challenging road games in Memphis and Orlando for UCF, against UCF this past week for UConn. I'm curious what your takeaway is from those two games and the challenges the team faced.
Well, I mean, looking at it this way, we haven't seen games like this in a really long time, but going back 25, 30 years ago, I remember what these long seasons are like. And it's hard to go on the road, you know, throughout the course of a long season. You're not always going to shoot well. And that's going on right now. UConn is not shooting great, and their offense has looked a little stagnant and has struggled. But I don't think it's cause for alarm. Their defense has been terrific. They're winning these games. It's not like they're going on the road and losing. I understand the expectations are high, but I remember all the different types of teams that UConn has had over the years. Yeah, this may not be what we've seen in their glory years, but you know, it's been a long time. There's a lot of different types of basketball that has been played, and I think they're fine.
So, understanding the defense has been good. Back at home today, what do you want to see out of the Husky offense?
You know, I would expect them to shoot the ball really well today. They're home. You know, maybe some of the students will be back with school starting up on Tuesday and the break is over. I think they're excited to be home. They've been on the road for a long time. Gosh, I feel like we haven't been to Gamble in a year. So I would expect them to have great energy. And like everything else with this team, the expectations and of what everyone outside is one thing, but I know how they operate, and I think they're pretty fired up. There was a really good energy to them here this morning. I think they're going to shoot really well. They'll continue to play good defense, and Tulsa is not a team that plays a lot of zone defense, so they're going to have a hard time guarding UConn.
So in summation, home cooking probably be good for the offense today, and we'll see what the numbers look like at the end of the day, Gary and Kara.
All right, Alan and Meg, thank you both. And it is a Tulsa team that comes in. They're struggling. They're 5-12 on the season. They have yet to win a game in the American Conference. They're 0-4 on the year. So might be just what UConn needs. What are the things that could also help UConn get going? Kristen Williams. Yeah. She had a very tough game against UCF on Thursday. She scored just 5 points. She didn't shoot it well in that game. What did you see from her?
Well, sometimes kids just have bad night shooting. I mean, instead of reading into that, we could try to be positive, right? She was 0 for 5 from three-point land. However, she had 5 rebounds in that game. She had 2 steals, so she did do other things. And I think in the past, Kristen Williams she likes to score, right? Now she's doing more things. She's penetrating to the basket. She's not just relying on that three-point shot. She's rebounding, which makes Gino really happy. So I just think bad scoring night, because for the most part, she's played really well for this team. They would not be where they are without her playing well. So bad game. Sometimes you have those games that you couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat kind of game. And I think today you're going to see a big game from Kristen Williams shooting the shot. And again, this Tulsa team will not play zone. So there's more opportunities, I think, for her to take someone one-on-one. She's great with the quick first step, yes, putting it on the deck, getting to the basket. So sometimes don't settle for the shot, right? 0 for 5 from three-point land. Put it on the deck. Nobody can stop you.
Attack,
yes, right? And I think we've seen too much stagnant in their offense. And there's a big difference between just taking it crazy to the basket because you're trying to force something, and instead of, you're a great penetrator. Get to the basket, do that with confidence.
As a team, she's so heavily counted upon. She comes in averaging a little bit over 16 points a game on the season. We expect for her, as Kara said right there, to attack today and have a solid game. More to come here on our pregame show. When we come back, going to take a closer look at the Huskies and their transition game, turning defense into offense. How can they reignite that? That more on the other side of a quick break. UConn's upcoming schedule after today's game with Tulsa. The Huskies welcome in Tennessee on Thursday. A rekindling of that rivalry that is back on the road for a tilt with East Carolina, followed by an exhibition game against the U.S. national team on the 27th, then another home game against Cincinnati on the 30th. So when the offense is humming for UConn, they got a ton of points in transition, but over the past few games, a part of the Huskies' offense has been lacking, and that's turning, defense into offense and getting out and getting easy buckets. How do they change that? I mean,
clearly we know that's part of UConn's bread and butter, right? Transition points, they're fast getting out. Their defense leads to their offense. So, which is good as far as steals and getting in front of people. You know the other thing I noticed, Gary? The rebounding. The last game they were out-rebounded 41-36. When you rebound, you go, right? If teams get the opportunity to set up, I'm going to guard UConn. I'm going to push players back. The word is out. They get a lot of points in transition. But if they don't have the opportunity to set up their defense because they're rebounding the basketball, then they can get their break going. So not only is it the defense and the steals, but it's also rebounding. There have been several games they've been out-rebounded, several halves they've been out-rebounded, so that will help their transition game.
So we close in on game time up in Storrs, Connecticut. Nobody on this UConn team can have quite the defensive impact that Olivia Nelson-Adota can have. 64 blocks on the season. She'll look to add to that total today. Tip-off just minutes away. We'll look at some of the keys to today's game when we come back in a jiff. UConn starting lineup for today's game against Tulsa. No changes. Dangerfield, Williams, Walker, Nelson-Adota, and Kyla Irwin all back in there for Gino Auriemma's team. So this is a Tulsa team that has struggled. A chance for UConn to take advantage of that today. What do you look for specifically early in today's game?
Well, I think UConn basketball, they try to focus, right? They don't focus on the other teams. So Kristen Williams getting involved, starting off early and often, right out of the gate, like the Houston game, putting two halves together. We see all those things. Also, Tulsa's a bad rebounding team, so take advantage of it, right? Like I just said, rebound the ball and get out in transition. So hopefully you'll see some of that. And and just play good defense because Tulsa turns the ball over and they can't score.
Good chance for UConn to get back on track today. And again, it's interesting, right? You want them to get out in transition, and when you rebound the basketball,
you can do it.
You can do that.
Yep.
So, Kara and I go to see you back on the halftime show. It's UConn and Tulsa right here on SNY. We're off to Stores, Connecticut. Enjoy the action, and again, see you back at the half. It is the UConn Women's Halftime Report. It's brought to you by our local Ford stores. Gary Apple back alongside Kara Walters inside our New York City studios. And you are such a knowledgeable savant of the game. You told us on the pregame show they're going to get off the rebounding side and they're going to get out and run, and that's exactly what UConn did efficiently in that first half.
Sure did. They came out early with an energy about them in transition, which has been their bread and butter, but is lacking as of late. They got it back off on the run between the steals and the rebounding. They just get up the floor so well, and their spacing is good. So it leaves opportunities for people. The defenders can't guard everyone, and the spacing so good. So their transition game and their energy from the beginning was a much different team than we've seen. Offensively, they were just, I mean, they found the open person and the ball was moving quickly.
16 turnovers UConn forced in that first half, 29-0 points off turnovers. I mean, what a difference. UConn in complete command. They lead this game big 48-11 at the half. So the Ford halftime report rolls on in just a moment. Going to take a look at the second half when we come back. Plus, we're going to hear from Olivia Nelson-Adota on the impact of her defensive presence. Kara and I back from Studio 31 in just a moment. We get a look right now at first half stats presented by our local Ford stores. Connecticut shot it at 54% in the first half and 62% from downtown. They were 8 of 13 from beyond the arc, and they dominated the paint. 22-4 the advantage in the paint. Big part of the 48-11 lead for UConn. Don't adjust your television sets. They do lead by 37 points at the half. We'll look ahead to the second half when we come back in just a moment. First half category leaders presented by our local Ford stores, and Megan Walker leads everybody in the game. She's got 15 points, really aggressive in that first half. Olivia Nelson-Adota leading with 7 rebounds, and Anna Makarot chipping in with 4 assists. She was very active. Recently, we caught up with Olivia Nelson-Adota, and she shared her thoughts on the impact of her defensive presence.
The coaching staff is usually on me about just getting as many blocks as I can and really helping out on that aspect on the defensive end. And so, you know, I'm a long player, so I really try and take pride in, you know, using that to my advantage. And that can definitely impact the way, like, people shoot or whether they decide to drive into, you know, lane or whatnot. And so I also think that really helps with my teammates, especially knowing that they can rely on somebody in case they get beat, in case they need help, to really help out on the defensive end like that.
And the UConn defense rock solid in that first half. They held Tulsa to 21% shooting. As I mentioned a moment ago, Megan Walker, she was aggressive in that first half, seemed to have an offensive mindset.
It's almost like they came out today and that was their purpose. That was part of their goals on the offensive end. And what I like about her is she's strong for a guard. She's a little undersized for a post, but man, she is not settling for just jumpers. She's getting it in the lane hard, really aggressive. Great first half by Megan Walker.
UConn well on their way to going 16-1 on the season. Kara and I go to see you back on the post-game show. Second half action here on SNY coming up following a quick break. All right, Alan, we thank you. UConn again, they continue to hum. They're now 16-1 on the season, 7-0 in the American Conference. And, man, after 2 straight games where they got banged and pushed around a little bit, even though they won those games, and it really got Gino a little bit upset, right? We talked about it on the pregame show that people have just gotten, he didn't use the word spoiled, but he said, come on, we don't have to apologize for playing close games. Today was the opposite, 92-34. What was different in today's game?
I think Gino's got to be pleased with the way they've responded to the criticism and just the confidence that this team exuded from the beginning. They early and often they were out in transition. The spacing was phenomenal. They rebounded the ball, which we talked about early in the game. To get their transition game going, you have to get the rebound. So many things happened. The energy, everybody getting involved. It was a much different UConn team. It was UConn basketball, a lot of movement, a lot of people involved.
Well, they shot the ball awfully well today, 56% from the field, 61% from beyond the arc. They were 14 of 23 from downtown. They really did shoot with confidence in today's game. But really, I thought it was all sort of orchestrated from the defensive end. They had 14 steals, and you spoke about it on the pregame show. as well. If they could do that, they could get out and run. And, man, they ran today.
Yeah, their defense leads to offense, right? That's the bread and butter of UConn basketball. Just transition and very unselfish team, right? They're giving up the ball to the person that's open with the spacing, and they're making the extra pass, settling for the great pass instead of the good pass, right? So transition was great, and that just starts with an energy and starts on the defensive end. But a lot of hands and things, active hands, active feet on the defensive end. Got a lot of deflections, a lot of steals, and the confidence. That's what I love.
Yes.
You see the smiles on their face, the confident. They looked like a much better, much improved, more confident UConn team.
They had 34 points off turnovers. That was really big in today's game. And then we've been waiting. We've been waiting for Anna Makarat to sort of break out the way she did today. What was most impressive to you about the way the freshman played?
Well, you can tell she's hitting her stride, right? You kind of felt like she took a deep breath today, right? And Anna Makarat said she went home to Poland at Christmas time and really kind of evaluated herself and saw that she can make changes and get her confidence back. Gina Oriam certainly has confidence in her. We've said this before. She's 18, but she's played professional basketball in Poland. So she's a very smart player. You and I have talked about how smart she is. So really the only thing holding her back has been her confidence. I love the smiles on her face. You saw once she got going, once she hit one shot, two shots, she's like, hey, I'm pretty good. So then you got Anna Makarat going, and that's going to be huge for the Huskies.
Well, the numbers for Makarat today were awfully impressive, and she's got that high basketball IQ.
Yeah,
she sees the floor awfully well. Let's go look at numbers right here. The stats are presented by People's United Bank, and really it was all Connecticut right from the beginning. They led by 37 at halftime, and they go on to the 92-34 victory. They shot it well from inside and outside the arc. They owned the battle of the rebounding and points in the paint, 40-10. What a difference there. And then the fast break points, 20-2. So it was a complete game for UConn as they continue to roll 127-0 now all time in the American Conference as we head back to Gamble Pavilion. Welcome back in, Alan and Meg. And, you know, we were talking about Anna Makarat, guys, and the fact that she took a major step forward today. And Kara's really been harping on that she was sort of waiting for her to break out, and she did so. Take it away, Kara.
Hey, guys. Love the shirt again today, Meg. Yellow. Looks great on you. Gary laughs at me. But
thank you, Kara.
Yes, you're welcome.
Hey, Kara, you won't be surprised. Kara, you won't be surprised. Chris Daly gave me a hard time about the shirt, so thank you. I had to tell you that because you would not be surprised.
That is high praise. Speaking of high praise, Anna Makarat, fantastic game today. Really, we see her turning a corner. Do you guys think she has to play at this level in order for this team to win a national championship?
Oh, yeah, to win a national championship, yes, because they're going to need more than 3 players doing all the scoring and 1 player maybe getting into foul. You know, they need somebody to come in and pour a lot of points in. And we've been seeing this in practice since October.
Yeah, I mean, Kara, I think without her, you know, they won't even make it to the Final Four. I mean, but she just gives them a different dimension. And Gary, you alluded to her basketball IQ, just the way she plays, how she reads the floor, how she makes passes, how she sees things developing. I don't think they have another player on this team who has that same knowledge and that same awareness. And now that we're just seeing like the scratching of the surface, it'll be fun to see her continue to evolve.
Yeah, she really does understand the game, and for a freshman, there's a lot to be said for that. Not to get lost in this win today, Megan Walker, she had a tremendous offensive game. We didn't see her much late because she was on the bench, but 24 points, very efficient, 9 of a dozen from the floor, and she seemed to have an offensive mindset right from the beginning. What did you see from Megan?
Yeah, I saw that aggressiveness too, Gary. Like she was driving to the basket. I think the entire team, it obviously was a focus. You know, their offense on that road trip last week in those 2 games at Memphis and UCF, you know, they were a little bit subpar offensively. Nothing like a little home cooking, come home, get in this arena, the 8,000 plus cheering you on. There was everything about this game. I thought the players looked different. They looked better, and I think Megan led the way.
Yeah, and I think the most fun thing I saw from Megan, besides the around the back save and the run out play, when the core four were on the bench late in the game and Macarat was going off and things were happening on the floor, how much fun they were having watching their teammates. The Huskies just needed a game like this where they could laugh and loosen up. You remember the comments from Gino yesterday, how tense the week was, and they needed a fun game like this, and they all had a great time today, whether they were on the floor or sitting on the bench.
Yeah, regardless of the score, right? It didn't matter what the score was. They were having fun.
Yep.
And I agree. It was something they needed.
It was good. It was good to see them smile again. So, Alan and Meg, we thank you both. We'll see you next Saturday. Next game here on SNY as we bring it back inside our studios here in New York City. We spoke on our pregame show about Kristen Williams coming off a tough game last time out against Central Florida. She had just 5. We thought she might have a breakout game today.
Yeah.
She had 11 points, which is about 5 under her season average, but she knocked down 3. Yeah. 3 of 4 from downtown. I think that was a good step to sort of get her back to where she needs to be.
I think it was a great step. She was 0 for 5 in that Central Florida game. So this is a big bounce-back game for her. I don't think she had as many points just because they had points coming from other people on the floor today. She didn't need to be that person. But the confidence in her three-point shot, just fantastic. It's just what the Huskies needed. And you see the growth in her. It's not all about the scoring now. She did other things, slashing to the basket, getting some rebounds. All those things show her maturing in her game. So even if she doesn't have her season high, she's still doing other things.
And we've spoken about Crystal Dangerfield, just the fact that she is a leader on this team. Her offensive numbers are up, but she's just sort of quietly going about her business. I mean, she had 16 points and 4 or 5 from beyond the arc, and you sort of... Okay, where was she today? But she was a huge part of this, but she just goes about her business.
Yeah, isn't it funny how you say that? Like,
yes.
She had a quiet 16 points. This is what Crystal did. But she's the leader of this team. She is the extension of Coach Auriemma. She's doing a terrific job of doing the little things. When it's her turn to score, she's got the green light. I like that she's penetrating to the basket. She's not just settling for those threes, but tonight, those threes were on, right? You go with it if the 3 ball is dropping, and she recognizes it. Again, another smart player, right? She recognizes when to hold them, when to fold them, what's needed of her in that game. And she's just done a tremendous job being the leader of this team. And if she's quiet, she doesn't care. She's not one of these players that wants the glory. She's not one of those players that she just wants to get it done for her team.
How about we saw 2 3-pointers she hit right there, and on both occasions she took a bounce, slid to some space.
Yeah.
And her ability to do that, not everybody can do that, right? And she can. What allows her to be so efficient along those lines?
I also think she's doing a good job coming off screens. She's got a lot of players setting screens for her, and she's doing a good job recognizing it. She goes to the left and the right, so you're seeing more movement. That's what Gino has talked about, the offense being stagnant. Well, even those little things, right? When we say movement, it's not always cutting through the lane. I mean, for the most part, yes, but it's also when you pass the ball, move to the left, move to the right. When you get it into the post, move so your post player can hit it back to you. So movement in general, Crystal recognizes that that's part of the reason this team is stagnant. You move just a little bit, and then Olivia Nelson-Ododa can kick it out to you because they collapse on her, right? So she moves to the left into the openings because she's become a very smart player.
Olivia, by the way, 6 points and 7 rebounds. So not a huge game from an offensive standpoint. They really did focus on trying to get the ball down to her, especially early in this game on the low block. And then Aubrey Griffin came in. She was one of 5 players in double figures. She had 11 points. She was efficient, made 4 of her 5 shots. If those freshmen, and Macarat took a major step forward today, but if Griffin can follow suit, it's going to go a very long way in helping this team get to where they want to get.
And huge, if they can play a good game collectively, what happened was it gave Gino the opportunity to play all these players, right? They've been close games, so all the starters have to play. And this time it was if they can get a big lead, he can give the opportunity. He can keep people fresh. That's the other thing, right? Going down the stretch, if he's using such a short bench, he's not going to be able to get as much done. But I think bringing those players in, not only to get the chemistry, but to give them the confidence. Anna Macarat should take a lot from this game. Aubrey Griffin, like you said, 11 points is huge for her. Hopefully this is just getting their confidence back because, like Gino said, you have some big games on the horizon. So now, hopefully, this was a perfect situation and for them to get some of that confidence going into a big game.
All a part of a big day for UConn as they get the win again. Don't adjust your television sets. It was 92-34. It was the ultimate blowout. So Karen and I just getting going here on the People's United Bank postgame show. When we come back, complete game highlights of the Huskies' victory today over Tulsa. We'll hear more from Gino Auriemma, his postgame address to the media, plus a conversation with Anna Makarat. Man, she came of age today. We're coming back from Studio 31 in just a moment. Here we go. Complete game highlights. Number 4, UConn taking on Tulsa. Olivia Nelson-Adota. Right to work inside.
Yeah, and she got involved early on the defensive end and rebounding.
Here she goes from a defensive standpoint. She knocks it away, starts the transition the other way, and it's Crystal Dangerfield finishing at the other end. And then more defense as Megan Walker forces the steal.
They did. Their defense led to offense, gets out quick, and Megan Walker, what a great game defensively.
UConn really a conscious effort to try and get out and run early and often in this game. And here they go running again, and so unselfish with the basketball.
Well, and Kristen Williams, she was feeling it from three-point land. If you're feeling it, give it to her.
Final possession, first half. Olivia Nelson-Adota with the rejection. UConn up by 18 after that first quarter, and they would not let up in the second. Walker buries a 3 right there, and then it's Walker putting it on the floor. And again, she was determined early.
And I love how she penetrated. She put the ball on the deck, didn't just settle for jumpers. She did it both ways.
Molly bent the steal, and then the presence of mind to let the play unfold.
I like that. The extra pass, giving up the good shot for the great shot. We see Katie Lou Samuelson there.
Closing seconds, first half, Walker, another knockdown 3. UConn up 48-11 at the half. It was a blowout. Third quarter, Walker, the passing lane again right there. Great recognition, getting out, and again, unselfish with the ball.
Yeah, unselfish, making the extra pass, but they're getting out because they know they have Olivia in the back line to play defense.
Walker led everybody in the game. She had 24 points. Later in that third quarter, UConn pulling away, bench contributing. Makarat to Aubrey Griffin for the basket, and then the fourth, Makarat. I think that's a good way to wrap up these highlights.
I think, hey, she's feeling it. Give me the rock. And I love it. Look at the bench getting involved because they're so happy with it.
Have not seen that. That's sort of euphoria, the smiles in a while, right?
Yeah, in a while, because this team has just been beaten into the ground, right? You haven't done this, you haven't done that. And finally, everybody gets involved and they can all smiles from the bench.
Haven't done this, haven't done that, but yet they are 16-1. What do you know? A few minutes ago, Maria Marino with Anna Makarat.
Anna, career high in points for you. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great. I mean, it was a great team performance, so it's important to us to play well, to play better every single game. So I think we show a little bit more of Connecticut basketball today, so that's really important for us right now.
What about for you personally? What was working for you so well? What were you seeing out there that allowed you to score?
I mean, I keep working hard. I keep working hard on my confidence, just to not overthinking everything and just to make my shots when I'm open. So I'm happy that it worked out today, but it's just the beginning.
Just the beginning. So how do you build on this?
I mean, I'm just going to keep doing my job. I'm not going to be overexcited after this game. I'm just going to keep working hard and just be focused on little things that the coaches always want me to do.
All right, Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Maria and Anna, a couple of words that she really jumped out at me right there. She said, I don't want to overthink, right? And that's, I think, been part of her problem, is that sometimes, as smart as she is, the high basketball IQ, she does think too much. And today, she let the game come to her.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what the other word stuck out to me, Gare? Connecticut basketball. So I know that sounds funny, but she's getting it. And it is a certain way you play at Connecticut. And they've kind of told her, don't think, just play. You're smart. You've played professional basketball. You know what you're doing. So she's getting what the culture is at UConn, and that you do the little things. You keep shooting. Good shooters keep shooting. We've said it before. But I liked her movements. I watched her. Sometimes I watch certain players down the floor, and I watched her, and there were times she's still standing still, don't get me wrong, but she was moving, and I like it. She was cutting into lanes. She was finding openings, that sort of thing. So you can see that confidence growing, and this is a huge game for her. Huge game, and she's starting to realize, at least she realizes she's thinking too much, right? She's overthinking it, and I think this is a breakout thing that's going to help her down the line.
Yeah, she gets it. Again, she's smart. She understands the game, and it is a huge transit. Tough enough to come from high school here in America, right, to play at UConn. Try coming from Poland and then trying to play at UConn. There is a huge learning curve there, and she certainly had a big game today. Karen and I, more to come here from Studio 31 in New York City. When we come back, we're going to hear from the Hall of Fame head coach, Gino Auriemma. He seemed very pleased by what he saw at Gampel Pavilion today. Plus, we'll take a look ahead to the Tennessee game coming up later this week. Back in a jiff.
Oh, we will?
Yes. It's Gary Apple back alongside Kara Walters. Player of the game is brought to you by Town Fair Tire. Megan Walker getting it done for the Huskies. She had 24 points in 26 minutes. That's efficiency. All a big part of the 92-34 win for UConn. Let's hear from the Hall of Fame head coach. Here's Gino Auriemma, his post-game address to the media.
Thing looks better when shots are falling. Seemed like everyone was loose today, having a lot of fun. I don't know what the sense was on the bench, but what did you see, and you know, what do you think, you know, the big things that you got accomplished today?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Being home, I think, is comforting for our players. You know, being in this building, we haven't had a chance to experience a lot of that this year. So being here was exciting. You know, we traditionally have made a lot of shots, you know, on this court. We were able to play aggressively right from the beginning, and we were able to put a lot of different guys on the floor, so we kept everybody fresh. You know, and like you said, when you shoot the ball and it goes in, it just makes everybody feel good. And we just came off a week when we shot it. You know, we may have gotten some of the same shots that didn't go in, and today they went in. And everybody felt good, and it just built. And it just kind of got, you know, it snowballed. It was good. It was a good day. And everybody played a little bit close to their role. You know, this is what I am. This is what I do. And everybody did their part. That's what we've been asking.
Talked about Anna's confidence. What do you think a day like this can do for her moving forward?
I try to go, you know, one game at a time, and I don't like to look too far ahead, other than, you know, what we have next. I'm not surprised that Anna had a game like today, because these last 3 or 4 games, she's looked really, really good. She's getting more comfortable every day. She's finding spots on the floor where she can be successful, and she feels better shooting the ball. She's getting better defensively. I'm not surprised that you know, she just needed to see the ball go in a lot, and that's what happened. You know, kids got a kick out of watching her play. You know, the kids got a kick out of some of the shots that she made and some of the shots that she took. You know, thanks, man. You know, I know when we were in Dallas, I said, you know, I told you guys, I kept reminding her, yo, you know, that guy out there is only 1 year older than you, so I don't know. I guess we got the wrong immigrant. I don't know what the hell's going on here, but today she looked, you know, she was trying to channel her inner Luca, you know, I don't know. But the kids were getting a kick out of it.
What could her development, I mean, she might not be scoring 21 points every night for you guys, but if she can knock down those shots, if she can be a threat on offense, what could that mean for the team and for the offense and helping you guys get to that next level?
Well, if you look at our makeup, you know, we have 2 guards in the backcourt that, you know, kind of sort of on the smaller side, you know, Crystal and Kristen. So having somebody like Anna with the ball in her hands and can make shots and can see, you know, she throws the right pass at the right time more times than not, and she can see who's open on the other side of the floor more times than some of our other guards can. So if she's playing with a lot of confidence, that's one more shooter out there to stretch the defense. That's one more good ball handler. You know, that's one more big guard that can rebound maybe a little bit. So it gives us an opportunity maybe to give Crystal and Kristen, you know, rotate them in and out a little bit more. You know, she's one of those players that if she keeps building on this, it helps you in three spots, and three positions on the floor, not just one, you know. Helps you as a point guard because she passes well, helps you as a shooter, and helps you as a big guard who can defend maybe and rebound.
You mentioned the rotation a little bit. How crucial is it to get those like Kristen and Crystal on the bench today and get that break with the rotation especially? Nobody can play, 40 minutes every single night and still be on top of their game. There's going to be some fall off, you know. It's just a matter of are you able to still be really, really good during that fall off that's naturally going to happen. But I've always said, what is it that really takes its toll? Is it the physical playing 35, 36, 37, 38 minutes that takes a big toll? Or is it knowing I can't come out because coach doesn't have anybody to put in for me? Does that pressure, that mental pressure, I got to make every shot, I got to make every pass, I got to play great defense because there's no one for coach to put in that can help us. He can't give me a breather. I think it's the pressure of knowing I can't come out that ultimately wears you down. The actual physical part of running around out there, that's not as bad. So I think if some of the other kids on the team were able to come in and give us 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, 3 minutes here, that will go a long way towards relieving some of that mental pressure that I think kids feel. Kind of follow up to that. How have you seen Crystal deal with that, especially? I
think really, really well. I don't know what she did today, but it looked good. Crystal gets in trouble when she's trying to be too cute. She's trying to be too much of a playmaker. She's trying to be, a little, more, sneaky, like, oh, I want to get in there and make a play. And I told her, I said, you're at your best when you're trying to score every time you touch the ball. To me, that's when players are at their best. You get the ball and you're trying to score. Until when? Until you realize there's somebody wide open over there, and then you make the right play. Kids that come in and they get the ball and they're constantly looking like, who should I pass the ball to? They can't ever be effective because they're playing defensively almost. So these last 4 or 5 games, since the Baylor game, I would say, pretty much, Crystal's mentality has been, I have to score. And because I'm trying to score, when they collapse on me or when they bottle me up, I can make the right pass at the right time. So you don't see her getting stuck in the lane as much now with the ball, wondering what should I do. And you can see that, she has so much confidence in her shot right now. So things are going really, really well for her. When you're a senior, the next 2 months, February and March, that's payday. You're going to get judged a lot by what you do these next 2 months, February, March.
Talk about the defensive effort tonight, just 11 points in the first half allowed.
Yeah, as I was saying, some of that was us, some of that was them. They don't score a lot of points to begin with. And I felt like if we could turn up the pressure a little bit and make the game fast, that they would have to take a lot of shots. And at the first half, we really made it difficult for them to get where they were going. And we're still not, this isn't the 2009 and 10 team. We're not going to steal it from you 30 times. But we're going to have to find, keep working to find a true defensive identity of who we are. And our defense has been good, don't get me wrong, but I think there's more that we can do. And today was along that
that path. We're going down.
So that is the Hall of Fame head coach of the Huskies, Gino Auriemma. And it's amazing. He said they had a conscious effort today to try and get out and run and get a lot of possessions. Isn't it amazing that you brought that up on the pregame show? You expected that to be the case. You do know what you're talking about. Well,
let's get him on the phone. Let's get my agent on the phone.
Let's get Kurt on the phone and see how he feels about that. Hey, by the way, Gino was talking right there about the defense, and they did play really good defense today. But when you look at this team, if they're going to get to where they want to get at the end of the season, is it going to be because they can get shots in big situations, which they really couldn't do in the Baylor game at the end of the game, right? I mean, they really settled for a lot of threes. Or is it going to be their defense? Which do you think is going to be more critical along those lines?
Well, I think their defense leads to their offense. So I think you start with the defense and then get into the offense. But I liked where it was going today. I mean, hey, let's be honest. You have to have good defense and good offense to win a championship. But I really believe that their defense leads to their offense, as well as their confidence going. Now, when they get out and run the break, we see a lot of transition points. That bodes well for UConn. But they have to get some breathers from some players if they're going to play at that tempo. And I think that's what you saw a little bit today. Gino likes to run at that tempo, fast break, but he had subs, right? So he could keep people fresh coming in and out of the game. So that's something he'd like to see, is to grow and grow trust in his bench so he can give people breathers, because it comes down to that question, right? Does he need the bench to give people breathers, or does he need the bench to give him production? That's an interesting question about this team.
All right, UConn scored 59 points last time out against UCF. Today they scored 92, a very different offensive story. Kara and I, not done yet here on the postgame show. When we come back, we'll look ahead to the Tennessee game coming up on Thursday night, plus sights and sounds of a big Connecticut victory today over Tulsa. We're coming right back. Time now for the drive of the game. It is presented by Subaru. Megan Walker into the passing lane. She makes the steal, and then nice pass. Unselfish gets it back. And, boy, UConn played very, very heads-up basketball today.
Unselfish, giving up the good shot for the great shot. And you like all the smiles. Megan Walker, you haven't seen her really smile in a long time. Good to see.
Drive of the game presented by Subaru, as we get a check right now. The UConn upcoming schedule, and it's Tennessee coming up on Thursday night. That game in Hartford, then at East Carolina, game against the U.S. national team, then Cincinnati and Oregon. So the schedule is not easy coming up here. Our next game here on SNY against East Carolina coming up Saturday. We're getting you set with the UConn women's basketball pregame show that begins at 12:30. Let's take a moment here on our way out the door to look ahead to the Tennessee game. As Gino has continued to say, this is not the old Tennessee rivalry, but it's an important game.
But especially to all the old timers.
Yeah, how about you?
Like, we can't give it up, right? we were stuck in that. We don't like Tennessee kind of days. So although it's not the teams of the past, last time they played Tennessee was 2007. So it's nice to kind of try to build this again. Hopefully it will become an annual thing. Kelly Jolly, great coach for the late Pat Summitt. She's filling in. So it's going to be interesting, because you know what? UConn plays UConn basketball. Tennessee plays Tennessee basketball. Doesn't matter who it is. They have a certain style of playing hard, playing gritty, and that's going to all come together in the clash of the big timers. So even though it's not what it was, I'm looking forward to it.
I see that twinkle in. I see the competitive spirit coming out in you when you talk about UConn and Tennessee. It's been a long time, but still, they are old rivals.
They are. And it's nice to see. You know what? It's not about who doesn't like who. It's about the sport of women's basketball. And if you can get good basketball for the sport of women's basketball, good games, that's what we're looking for.
Great to be with you today, Kara. That's it for us on our way out the door. Sights and sounds of UConn's win over Tulsa.